The holy grail is really a fully reusable orbital system, by far the most important thing. It's like the difference between having aircraft that are reusable or not, or cars. The profundity of this is not well understood by very many people.
Hey there guys, what's happening and welcome back to our channel. SpaceX was formed by entrepreneur Elon Musk in the hopes of revolutionizing the aerospace industry and making affordable spaceflight a reality. SpaceX is probably one of the most famed companies whose mission and vision statements are all about innovations and the leadership features that characterize the firm. SpaceX scored its first big headline in 2010 when it became the first private company to launch a payload into orbit and return it to Earth intact. So let's get into SpaceX plans to take over 2021. Number 4. Send tourists to space. SpaceX announced this week that it plans to take 3 tourists to the International Space Station, ISS, as early as next year. The company has teamed up with Houston-based startup Axiom Space, which will coordinate the mission using SpaceX reusable rocket system. The private citizens will travel to the ISS aboard SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule, which is in its final stages of testing ahead of missions sometime this year, transporting NASA astronauts to and from the space station. A 4th seat will be given to an Axiom-trained astronaut who will perform flight commander duties and also supervise the tourists during their 8 days in the ISS. The SpaceX Axiom mission is a far more realistic proposition, as the equipment needed to make it happen is pretty much proven and ready to go. Indeed, SpaceX is expected to use its Crew Dragon capsule for the first astronaut mission to the ISS in the coming months, followed by the launch of tourist trips next year. Since 2012, SpaceX has been delivering cargo to the International Space Station in partnership with NASA, and later this year, we will fly NASA astronauts for the first time, SpaceX President and Chief Operating Officer Gwynne Shotwell said this week. Now, thanks to Axiom and their support from NASA, privately crewed missions will have unprecedented access to the space station, furthering the commercialization of space and helping usher in a new era of human exploration. Axiom CEO Michael Safrandini said the space tourism flight would represent a watershed moment in the march toward universal and routine access to space, adding, "This will be just the first of many missions to the ISS to be completely crewed and managed by Axiom Space, a first for a commercial entity. Neither SpaceX nor Axiom has revealed ticket prices, but according to the New York Times, Axiom has previously said that a seat would cost, wait for it, $55 million. Yes, you read that right. $55 million. Axiom will reportedly charge $35,000 a night for staying on the space station, with most of the $55 million fees going to SpaceX for the use of its transportation services. The SpaceX Axiom announcement comes just weeks after SpaceX unveiled another partnership with Space Adventures for a 5-day space experience that will reach an even higher orbit than the ISS. The service, which wouldn't dock at the space station, could also launch next year. NASA gave $3.1 billion to SpaceX and $4.5 billion to aerospace giant Boeing as part of its efforts to build a market for commercial spaceflight. Boeing isn't expected to launch a crew into space until next year, following a botched test of its Starliner capsule in December. Number 3. Mission Mars. At an average distance of 140 million miles, Mars is one of Earth's closest habitable neighbors. Mars is about half as far away from the Sun as Earth is, so it still has decent sunlight. It is a little cold, but we can warm it up. Its atmosphere is primarily CO2 with some nitrogen and argon and a few other trace elements, which means that we can grow plants on Mars just by compressing the atmosphere. Gravity on Mars is about 38% of that of Earth, so you would be able to lift heavy things and bounce around. Furthermore, the day is remarkably close to that of Earth. Starship will enter Mars's atmosphere at 7.5 kilometers per second and decelerate aerodynamically. The vehicle's heat shield is designed to withstand multiple entries, but given that the vehicle is coming into Mars's atmosphere so hot, we still expect to see some ablation of the heat shield, similar to wear and tear on a brake pad. The engineering video simulates the physics of Mars's entry for Starship. Starship will be the world's most powerful launch vehicle ever developed, with the ability to carry more than 100 metric tons to Earth orbit. Drawing on the extensive history of the launch vehicle and engine development programs, SpaceX has been rapidly iterating on the design of Starship with orbital flight targeted for 2021. You want to wake up in the morning and think the future is going to be great, and that's what being a spacefaring civilization is all about. It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than in the past. And I can't think of anything more exciting than going out there and being among the stars, Elon Musk said. Number 2, reusability. SpaceX believes a fully and rapidly reusable rocket is the pivotal breakthrough needed to substantially reduce the cost of space access. The majority of the launch cost comes from building the rocket, which historically has flown only once. Compare that to a commercial airliner. Each new plane costs about the same as Falcon 9, but can fly multiple times per day and conduct tens of thousands of flights over its lifetime. Following the commercial model, a rapidly reusable space launch vehicle could reduce the cost of traveling to space by 100-fold. While most rockets are designed to burn up on re-entry, SpaceX rockets can not only withstand re-entry, but can also successfully land back on Earth and refly again. SpaceX aims to reuse as many of its rocket components as possible to keep launch costs down. Every time a company uses a component from a previous mission, it saves millions. As a result, today's mission is probably the most cost-effective for the company.
The holy grail is really a fully reusable orbital system, by far the most important thing. It's like the difference between having aircraft that are reusable or not, or cars. The profundity of this is not well understood by very many people.
Number 1, Mission Moon. Only 24 humans have been to the moon in history. No one has been back since 1972. The moon is one of Earth's closest habitable neighbors and provides an opportunity to gain valuable experience for missions to Mars and beyond. A month ago, SpaceX announced that it plans to send 2 paying customers around the moon using a Falcon Heavy and Crew Dragon. The company plans to use a free return trajectory to send the crew around the moon and back to Earth, a method that involves only small amounts of propulsion for course corrections after the launch. According to the model, Falcon Heavy can send up to 18 tons on a lunar trajectory. Even if you don't believe the model, this makes sense. SpaceX rated the Heavy for 22.2 metric tons to geosynchronous transfer orbit, a trajectory not far in velocity terms from a translunar injection. The Dragon, fully fueled, still weighs less than 10 tons, and so it's likely that SpaceX's upcoming free return mission will have plenty of margin for reuse on the first and possibly the second stages. Of course, the 2 passengers, their belongings, and supplies for the journey will take some of the 8.5 tons of spare capacity, but considering the limited space inside the Dragon, probably not all. Nearly a half-century since humans first set foot on the moon, the lunar surface continues to taunt us. Modern technology may bring it closer than ever before since Apollo, but the crater terrain remains tantalizingly out of reach.
But even NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine has given kudos to SpaceX for their ability to fail and fix. He said that SpaceX is very good at iterative testing and fixing as they're developing their vehicles.
So what do you think about Tesla's ambitious space travel plans? Do you think they're ludicrous, or do you think they'll be able to pull it off? Let us know down in the comments section below. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We've got plenty more juicy content awaiting you in the coming